The internet is about to fundamentally change forever, and it's terrifying.
Is the most dangerous thing I've seen put forth. As a matter of fact, I think that in the next 2 years, I may not be able to live in the United States and do what I do anymore. It could affect your money, your Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, the ability to transact, but it's way bigger. It's way bigger than that.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Bitcoin was looking like it was trying to slump. We were scared about this pattern, right? It was starting to curve over, and look at what happened right here. You could see that we had a perfect retest right here, and we are back above this upward sloping trend. And you can see right here, we are starting to form a bit of an apex, and this could be very, very critical for Bitcoin, as we could be looking for a massive, massive move literally by the end of this month in just a few days. So very critical level for Bitcoin. Now, outside of all of this, there is something very massive that we need to talk about. And again, I am not trying to spread FUD, but as you have noticed, Google Trends is at the highest search ever right now for something called the Restrict Act. Now, you may have heard about this. It is something that does in fact concern all of us, specifically living in the United States. In fact, it's one of the scariest, possibly most Orwellian things I have ever heard in my life. Some say it could be even worse than the Great China Firewall, which they say would make that look like a picket fence, or others have been calling it the Patriot Act on steroids, with insane penalties for people who do break this law. Now, don't freak out. It's not anything that's been put into effect just yet, but we need to discuss this because the definitions are so vague that it could actually apply to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as well. And of course, Senator Elizabeth Warren wants to reintroduce an act that could potentially make you using your own dedicated crypto wallets, your own if you host your own crypto wallets, if you have your own crypto wallets, that could be also illegal as well. So, man, I'm not happy to report on some of these things, but we are going to talk about it. I'm going to let you know exactly what's going on with this banking debacle, with this crypto regulation debacle in the US. And of course, we are going to talk about the Bitcoin price because we have a monthly close coming up very, very soon. Very, very important. And as you can see right here, this level at about 28,600 is going to be key level to watch for the next couple days. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. Without further ado, let's start with the charts, and then let's get to the creepy, scary, nutso stuff that's going on in the world right now. So as you guys can see, we are still hanging out inside this blue zone right here. So this is where we had closed that previous CME futures gap. And as you can see, if we do in fact have this breakout, which by the way, I just want to point out, last week we had a bit of a Darth Maul wick candle, right? And then this week thus far, we've had a lot of volume coming in from the bottom, and we've seen that tail, right? This was very, very bullish, right? When you see that, where you're having all those buyers come in from the bottom, and if you have a look at this, the next level, our next target, right, is basically the bottom of this range right here. And as you can see, it was, support over here, acted as resistance, and that would be the next level right there, which would put us at around roughly $31,000, give or take $100 for Bitcoin, right? Now, would it be possible to, come down here and retest this level? Of course. And I said that that would be possible. The only thing that would do, basically, it could bring Bitcoin back down to about 25,000, and it might stretch out the move for about another month. But again, as I've been saying, what's incredible is that we're seeing this banking crisis, we're seeing this uncertainty, we're hearing about all these things happening in the US, these scary potential laws coming out, and yet Bitcoin continues to maintain its bullish trajectory. I really feel like the world is waking up and understanding the need for Bitcoin in these types of times, right? So as we can see right here, that is the target, of course. And, once again, falling wedge, you can see right here, that is the area that we're hitting. So, we've gone over this time and time again. Obviously, I know I sound like a broken record, but we do have a target between about $54,000 to $57,000 for this Bitcoin move. Obviously, we still don't have full confluence on all these indicators, but we are starting to see something that I do like. I am paying attention specifically down here now to the market cipher, because as we start to curve down here, if we end up getting, a smaller trigger wave based off this anchor wave, and then we also see this money flow back into the green, right? Like we had here, right? Essentially you have this anchor, You had this trigger, and then what happened? Well, essentially you had price going from 16 all the way up to 23, right? So right now, if we come down, maybe we retest, maybe we come down to that $25,000 level, we get that cross, we already got confirmation here, and we're already in the green on the daily of the guppy, then yeah, I think that would be an excellent opportunity for another trade. If you guys do want to learn how to trade, make sure you watch the tutorial popping up above, take advantage of those bonuses below. Who knows how long that'll last for everyone. But nevertheless, guys, Philb, he was talking about this projection. And, if we just ignore all the FUD, and you got to be honest, man, the talks of the recession, the talks of the, banning of potential cryptocurrencies, the banking crisis, the situation going on globally, and yet Bitcoin is still at the levels that it is today. I mean, based on everything that's going on right now, if Bitcoin was going to die, it should be down at like 6,000 at this point, right? But it's not. And Philb says if we just combine the expected halving dates and days to cycle tops and bottoms using this regression line, it's possible to estimate where we could find Bitcoin in the next couple years. And you can see right here, ultimately, he says, assuming that the Bitcoin peaks and troughs are similar, we could be looking at a $200,000 Bitcoin by 2025 and a $500,000 Bitcoin by 2029. So again, Bitcoin continues to maintain, even though it's not technically deflationary, but its inflation is much lower, especially than anything we're seeing in the West right now. And yeah, I think a lot of people are going to wake up and realize that maybe Balaji is actually right all along. So now you're seeing this scramble, signature bank clients rushing against time as the FDIC sets a deadline for account foreclosures. Again, I have to stress it. People were freaking out about the USDC depegging. It was not USDC's fault. It was the fact that we are required by law to be able to swap that USDC crypto token out for an actual physical dollar. Well, guess what? We couldn't get access to the dollars. That had nothing to do with crypto. That had to do with banking. Crypto Wendy O pointed out, she said, let me get this straight. The public servants were so scared of crypto that they purposefully shut down banks for doing their job and giving banking services to crypto companies so they can legally pay their taxes and then shut them down and made the US taxpayers bail out the banks? Even though Biden says, oh, don't worry, it's not going to come from the taxpayers. Okay, sure. That's what they say. But this crackdown is getting out of control, and every single piece of this puzzle is being used as more of a reason for them to not necessarily, I don't want to say they're going to ban it, but it is scary times, right? Now, and this is quite rare. Usually when I make videos, we're talking about the SEC. This time, we're talking about the CFTC, right? So basically, they had a 74-page complaint accusing Binance, who, by the way, recently has also been accused of trading against their clients. That's for another day. But sticking to this, Binance, and I'm not saying they do or don't. I'm just saying, obviously, a lot of people have been pointing, Binance has been under pressure. So basically, they accuse Binance of not only serving U.S. customers without filing for the appropriate licenses, but actively helping customers skirt the Know Your Customer and other compliance rules. Binance executives were allegedly aware its geofencing tools were inadequate and even had a semi-formalized, though confidential, procedure for getting whales around it and shielding their US IP addresses. So that is just yet more fuel to the fire, which brings us back to the Restrict Act. Now, this Restrict Act is being touted to protect you. Ultimately, the way they're kind of packaging it and putting it out to the public is it's just for TikTok, right? TikTok, can I even say the word on anyone? Is collecting too many users' information, right? They're spying on us, right? And the US doesn't like that. Except you can see right here, as Greg Price points out, the bill to ban TikTok is absolutely terrifying. It goes much deeper than just that. It gives the government the ability to go after anyone that they deem as a national security risk, at which point they can access everything from their computer to video games to even their Ring cameras. This is the Patriot Act for the internet, or the Patriot Act on steroids, as others have put it. And I wanted to give a shout out to, what is this guy's name right here? Say Hey James. I saw a lot of people trying to break this down. He broke it down like a champ. This is everything that's going on right now, and this is everything that you need to know immediately.
How we use the internet is about to fundamentally change forever, and it's terrifying. This is Bill S686, also known as the Restrict Bill. You'll probably know it as the TikTok ban bill, but it does so much more than just that. It actually does more than any bill I think we've ever seen. I encourage everyone to read it by going here and clicking the text tab, but here are the main takeaways. Foreign adversaries can change by definition, but a few are already listed. They are the People's Republic of China, including Hong Kong, Special Administration Region, the Republic of Cuba, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and of course, the Russian Federation and Venezuela under the regime of Nicolas Maduro Moros. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but these definitions can change at any time. The bill covers hardware technology like modems, routers, and home cameras, and virtual tech like VPNs, and basically bans them if they are manufactured by or used to contact and deal with foreign adversaries. Speaking of VPNs, using VPNs to bypass banned apps such as TikTok is made a criminal act under this bill, and the penalty, it's a minimum imprisonment of 20 years and a minimum fine of $250,000 or $1 million, depending if you knowingly did so to access banned content. The bill gives the federal government the power to monitor any activity used by these suspected devices, virtual or otherwise. Essentially, they can monitor what you are doing at home 24/7 without even informing you. This includes things such as routers, video games, streaming apps, smart thermostats, Ring cameras, basically anything that uses the internet. Now, the real terrifying part of all of this, as if that all wasn't terrifying enough, is that the bill goes on to state that this will happen by the president appointing a secretary of communication. That secretary then forms a group on their own without any voter input whatsoever. This group can have meetings behind closed doors. They don't have to disclose anything. They can ban and deem anything inappropriate or a risk to security at any moment in time. And if they do, they can go through your instant messages, your emails, text, basically anything that uses the internet, and they can censor it. So in summary, this bill can effectively ban anything the government deems inappropriate extremely quickly without warning. The ramifications of this range from breaking up mass communication methods to even watching the cameras in your home, aka spying on you. It really is that bad, and I am not speaking in hyperbole.
This is really, really scary stuff, guys. Now, even though it doesn't explicitly mention Bitcoin or necessarily explicitly mention VPNs, the scary part is actually how vague it is. That's what actually makes it scary. And the fact that they're able to create this committee, which we're not voting for the people in it, and they have unlimited funding to grow basically a giant, spy. You thought the NSA was bad. This is going to be like that on steroids. And like Bowtied Mara says, most people are not ready for this, not even anons. Minimum 20-year sentence, $250,000 fine for using a VPN to access banned apps, potentially. What are the banned apps? Are these going to be disclosed to the public? If I'm using it, will I be considered a national threat? And the fact that this can just be put into action without any voting, Congress doesn't get involved, I don't get a say in it. This is scary stuff, guys. This is 1984 stuff. This is not what the U.S. was built on. In fact, a lot of people are even saying this might even go against, the Fourth Amendment rights. Is this going to end up being similar? For example, he said, how many people do you think will be using crypto if it goes that far? Just like with FDR, almost everyone handed over their gold when they were told to, right? In 1934, the act was a culmination of Roosevelt's controversial gold program. Among other things, the act transferred ownership of all monetary gold in the United States to the U.S. Treasury and prohibited the Treasury and financial institutions from redeeming dollars for gold. Now, obviously, eventually, this... now, individuals can own gold and it got a little lax over time. But, as I said, going back to the Fourth Amendment, it says through the Fourth Amendment, it protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. However, it is not guaranteed against all search and seizures, but only those that are deemed unreasonable under law. So is it now going to be deemed reasonable for search and seizures for just anyone who wants some form of privacy? I mean, you're talking about accessing absolutely every bit of data. I mean, they already basically access all the data anyway, right? But now they can officially access any products that have over 1 million users, which is basically if you're watching me on a phone right now, it's probably a phone that has more than 1 million users. If you have a surveillance system in your house, it's probably a surveillance system that's used by more than 1 million users. If you're using an app, it's probably an app that's being used by more than 1 million users. So then that would deem that if they feel that for some reason you're doing something that they don't like, then they have full access to literally, like you're in your backyard, they just turn on your camera and start watching you. I always assumed that that's kind of what they were doing anyway, but now it officially allows them the ability to do that without due process. Now, of course, this is not official. This is not happening right now. But this is why, if you have concerns over this, you need to speak out. You need to reach out to people. You need to reach out to your representatives. And, what some people said was, you tell your representative that you do not appreciate this support of this bill. And if they do support this, then in the next primaries, you will vote for their closest opponent, basically. Because, if you really think about what America was built on, and you look at what's happening right now, it's kind of scary times. To make matters worse, we have our good old buddy Elizabeth Warren back with an anti-money laundering act that would, among other things, make it mostly illegal for you to use your own crypto wallet. Now, they go on to say that while the proposal's stated purpose is to protect Americans from scams, to protect Americans, it's more likely to drive cryptocurrency businesses overseas and weaken consumer choice. It prohibits the use of digital asset mixtures and requires self-hosted wallets like the kind you keep on your cell phone, along with miners and validators, to have AML policies. The bill is particularly harsh on DeFi, including non-custodial ones, requiring platforms to record the personal information of users and submit it to the government without a warrant or probable cause. It's a bit like blaming the city because you were mugged on the sidewalk. See what I'm saying here? Most absurdly, companies that develop the software would be required to register as money service providers, adopt anti-money laundering policies, and report customers to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. By this logic, electronic stores like Best Buy and Micro Center should register as money service providers because the cell phones they sell could be used to commit fraud. You see how backwards this is? This is not the path we should be taking. And, we have U.S. Senator Cynthia Lummis saying the failure of the United States Congress to enact policy is pushing the industry to other countries. Europe is ahead of us in terms of its regulatory framework. Australia and the UK are getting ahead of us. Switzerland is far ahead of us. The CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, told Bloomberg that the industry has already started moving outside the U.S. Coinbase, the largest U.S.-based exchange, is considering launching an overseas trading desk driven by the U.S. regulatory uncertainty. So what is this telling us? Yes, the SEC chair is, we don't care about that news. What is this telling us? I'm tired of talking about the SEC. It's telling us that it is not going to stop the industry. It is not going to slow it down. Will it stifle innovation? Yes, but mostly just for the U.S., right? Which is why I'm so happy to see that within the US, we are seeing pushbacks from these states like Wyoming, or from Texas, or from Nevada, or Colorado, or Florida, right? It's nice to still see those states, executing their rights to basically have a say in something like this, right? Florida specifically, Crypto Conference Miami, which I'll be at, by the way. I hope to see some of you guys there. Mayor Suarez trying to make it a crypto capital. Ron DeSantis coming out saying, we don't want CBDCs. We'll create our own banking system if we have to. We'll do it, right? Texas also, same thing. So, at the end of the day, does this mean up and move to Dubai tomorrow? I don't believe in that. I do think if it gets to that point, it would be sad. But I think that especially for U.S. citizens specifically, and I know that a lot of people watching are not from the U.S., and I get it, you probably don't care. But I still think that it is something that affects us as a whole. And even if you're not from the US or if you are from the US, I think we have to understand that this technology is here to stay. It is not a nefarious technology. It can be used for bad things. The same way that, I can use a knife to cut a rope, or I can use a knife to do something bad, right? I can use a hammer to put a nail in the wall, or I can use a hammer to, not going to say it, do something bad, right? It's not the tool, it's the way that you use it. And I think that this sort of ban all blanket, everything is this, you got mugged, so the city's wrong. That approach is not working for us. So let me know what you guys think. I still stand by the end of the day that Bitcoin is the way. It's my opinion. I'm a guy on the internet. Just do what you want. You can see right here, though, according to this historical CBBI chart, Bitcoin is nowhere near its top. So even if you are worried about the Bitcoin price potentially falling in the short term, I think ultimately you can see based on this, we are still sitting at around 22% confidence that the top is in, which, by default, gives us about an 80% chance of Bitcoin's price being higher this cycle than lower. So with that in mind, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. If you do want to learn how to trade, make sure you watch the tutorial popping up right here, right now. $56,000 in bonuses. Take advantage while you can. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.